Alright, so now in this video, it's all going to come together. We are going to talk about shading. So we're going to talk about shading our spheres, and then also starting to do the shading with our complementary colors on that back part. And this is what's really going to make that illusion stand out and pop. I'm really proud of you and how far you've come in these videos, and I hope you're proud of yourself too. So just give your best on this as you have on the rest of it, and I'm excited to see how your project comes out. Again, if you have any questions where you're stuck on the shading or different parts, raise your hand and I'm happy to come over and help you. Also, any other questions, just ask your buddy at your table, and if they can't answer, again, always ask me. Good luck! Alright, so the first part of this video is I just want to show you this is what our final product is going to look like. Whenever you're shading, you want to think of where that light source is coming from. So when you look at something where, say you have a flashlight and you point the flashlight at your face, you're going to see bright white light on your nose and maybe on your chin, your forehead, and in your eyes. And then everything behind you, on the sides, like your ears and your hair and so forth, wherever that light's not hitting, if you're in a dark room, is going to be darker. So your eye goes towards whatever's the lightest. And the reason this sphere has that illusion is not only because of the lines that we drew, but because of the shading. So your eye automatically looks at these lighter areas and it thinks that it's coming towards them. And your eye already knows, which that's why we have op art, it tricks you, is the darker areas look like they're going towards the back. So when we go to shade, it's important the direction that you choose, as well as how dark you make the shading on the ends or wherever you have that light source that you're looking for. So I'll show you a couple tricks. Looking at this one, we wanted this part here to be the light source where it's standing out, and you have all of the edges that are darker. So you can see you go dark, 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 and you go lighter, 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 lighter. This is the lightest point. And so each of those are following the line of the curve. When you brush your hair, you want to follow your hairline. It's the same thing if you go to brush horses' hair. You want to brush their hair going in the direction of the hair. So when you draw, that illusion really matters that you follow the lines here and you're working your way. Okay? If you have questions on that, let me know. But for our example, here's another one that I started. So this is where you're at. And as I show you this, you can then afterwards pause and complete all of your spheres, and then we'll move on to doing the rest of the shading for your drawing. So I'm going to use my purple. You get to use any of your two complementary colors. So I remember my two are the purple and the yellow, and if you want to have all your spheres one color, you can, or you can have them one is one and one is another color. It's up to you. So a different way, maybe if my sphere was all the way on a corner, so just like this one, it's on a corner here, and I've got my center one, I want to switch it up. Maybe I want my light to be here. So what I'm going to do is pretend my light source, and I'm going to use my yellow, so this helps remind me. This is my sun, and my sun is saying, I am bright all here. Well, over here is going to be nice and dark. So instead, I'm going to go nice and dark. And I'm just going to do this quick, and I go lighter, right? Sometimes after you do it, you go back and you make that corner a little darker. And that's what shading's all about. So I'm going to follow these curves here, and I'm going to go this darker because my light source is there. And it's easier if you start with all one, and then you go back and go, okay, now I know to push darker. So I'm going to make it lighter there, following that curve. And then here is the darkest because it's still in the back. I follow this curve here, just like this. Fill this all in, and then go in and make it a tad bit darker. There's that one. And just to help me, this is where the lightest is. So I am not going to really put any color. I'm going to go as light as I possibly can for the first part, and I'm going to stop. And then here, I'm going to follow this one. I'm going to go like this, as light as I can, and I'm going to stop, and I might make it a little darker just in this area here. Okay, because that's where my light is, right there for me. Then down here, let's see, I'm going to color that in. Maybe a good start so I can look at it, because it's always easier to go darker, and then it's harder if you have everything dark and you try to go back and make it lighter. You'll lose that illusion. So I'm going to, let's see, make it dark on the bottom here because I want it to really stand out. Go like this. Make it darker down here and on that corner so it gets a little lighter there. Okay, and then I've got this one. I'm going to color this all in really quick. And then because it's way in the back just like the rest, I'm going to make it dark and then go lighter. So dark, go lighter, lighter, darker, as you can see, and it gets lighter and lighter and lighter. Alright, and then for this one I'm going to do the same thing. Color it all in. Now because it's close to that sun, I'm going to make it less, and I'm going to follow it dark here. Okay, so just like that. So as you look at it, you can see that these three here have the lightest part, and that's where my light source is hitting. And that's how that looks. For this one, you can tell that the light source is coming in this way. So try practicing that on a few of your spheres, and then you can come back to this video, and that's when we'll move on to the next part of the shading and what is a shade, and then we'll practice our ribbon technique, and then you can go on to your ribbon. Now, once you've completed coloring in your 4 or 3 spheres, depending on how you did it, we are going to practice doing our shading for in each of these cones here. I think it's easier if you start with one, so then you can just do one this way, and you can really see the process as you go, and then choose which you want to do for your colors, so it just keeps you on that same pattern a little bit better. So before you do that, I want to make sure that you practice on here. So watch me first, practice on here, and then you can begin doing your main project. I just want to show you on here because it's a little bit bigger and easier to show you, and that way you can try practicing here. If you have questions, raise your hand. I'll come by and help you, and that way if you make a beautiful oops, you feel better about doing it on here before you do your nice new project. So let's begin. I'm going to zoom in so it's a little easier for you. And because this one has my yellow sphere in it, I'm probably going to start with my purple. So the first thing, obviously the little tiny ones, I'm going to do a tiny purple in there. Don't worry if you get out the lines a little bit. For the next one, try to use also, when you're using your colored pencil, the side that you've been using the most. You'll see it's shiny and it's starting to turn almost into a pencil point. So you want to use those edges as much as you can, and then leave the one other end alone. So let's I'm going to scooch this way and you can see how to begin. On the edges, you're going to go dark, and then you're going to go to medium, and then you're going to leave this white in the center. So I start out with going dark, 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 and then I'm going to go medium, up and down lines, medium, 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 and I'm going to stop. Go back to the other end, up and down, dark, 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 like this, and then I go to medium, and I stop. So looking at that, you can see I have that nice transition. Well, I could probably make this a little darker and a better transition with our shading than the other end. So I'm going to go back, really dress up and make that nice and dark, make my medium a little bit darker, so then my lighter color is a little bit lighter. Here's an example that I wanted to show you, that if you decided that you start doing it, instead of you start doing up and down, but then you do a few that are going inwards this way, you can do that. But do you see that nice, that stark difference? This is where I would say go back and rework that shading so you can see a transition. It should go from dark to medium to lighter, and not be like such a stark difference, as you can tell. Like this went from dark to light. So I would have this person go back and rework some of that.